All right, coaches, welcome back to my YouTube station. Very, very blessed this week to talk to some of, I think, the brightest minds in the state of Arkansas. It's been overwhelming, to coach in this state and see some of the very, very impressive guys. And I've got one on with me today that I played him once, and I'm glad it was only once because he did pretty good and probably would have done it again and has done a phenomenal job. If you don't know much about the state of Arkansas, look up Warren, Arkansas, and you'll see this guy's picture is probably what's going to pop up because he's done such a good job of kind of putting them on the map and not only coaching great athletes, producing winning years, year after year after year. So he's going to be a humble guy. I probably won't say all that, so I'll say a lot for him and then let him introduce himself. But I'm with Coach Bo Hembree, and I'm going to let him kind of talk a little bit about his background, and then we'll get into some of the other parts of coaching.
All right, yes, like you said, I'm Bo Hembree. I'm the head football coach and athletic director at Warren High School. I came here in 1998 as an assistant coach. I was here for 2 years. First year as a receiver coach in a power eye offense. Second year, I got to call the plays, and we started spreading it out a little bit. And so for the last 20 years, I've been the head football coach here. I guess 21 now. 21 years I've been the head football coach, and been very blessed. Like you said, I've had some really good athletes, and when we started this thing 21 years ago or 22 years ago, throwing the football, not too many teams were doing that around here. And I think you're going to have Coach Kelly on later, but I know that in 2001 and 2 or 2002, we played Coach Kelly one of his first years as head coach at Pulaski Academy. And I watched that film last week during the snow on YouTube, and that was during the snow here. It wasn't snowing at that time, but back then the offenses and the way everything's grown, it was kind of funny to watch where we both were 20 years ago.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the things I want to get to with you, Coach, is, you've been, not many guys can say they've been at one place and kind of spent their career there. That's a cool thing. I really, I think it's a really neat deal. And in a minute later, we might talk about the good and the bad of that, but I think in general, it's a really cool deal. It's unique. But talk a little bit about how things have changed. You've been at Warren now for 20 years, and now as a head coach, how have things changed?
Changed a lot. When I first got here in 2000, the first thing that I wanted to do was start a 7-on-7. And we had our first tournament in 2000, and nobody had ever heard of that really around South Arkansas. So, we started doing it, and Coach Patton at Bryan at the time came, and Coach Clay at Lake Hamilton came, and we had some really good football teams who came to Warren, Arkansas, and most of them didn't even know where Warren, Arkansas was. And back then it was pretty unique because it was starting up, and we actually had a state championship in 7-on-7. And every year we'd have a regional where you had to go through a regional to get to the state tournament or state 7-on-7. And we were able to host a regional a couple of years here, which was something that was unique. We had some really, really good football teams here during that time. And then 7-on-7 kind of grown since then. And now you have the Shootout of the South. You have the James King Classic. You have El Dorado, who has one. Shiloh has a really big one up there. But, it's just grown so much as far as 7-on-7, because back then, honestly, all you saw was cover 3. I remember in 2000 and 1999, all we saw was one high safeties, and it was easy. You kind of can just, draw up whatever you wanted to draw up, and you were going to be successful. And then you had the deal with the athletes that we had at that time. We were very blessed, and we were able to put up some points. And we played Pulaski Academy in 02. Like I said, we played Gus Malzahn in 02. He was at Springdale. We opened up. I think we were number 1 in 3A, and he was number 1 in 5A. And we opened up at Warren Memorial Stadium in 2002 against them. And, back then, 3A schools didn't play 5A schools. And we were probably one of the first teams that jumped off in that. And then we just continued to do it year after year. And, unfortunately, we've never been able to beat them. But, we played Fayetteville. We played Fort Smith Southside. We played Bryant. We played Springdale. So we played a bunch of big schools here, which I think that helps us as the year goes on. But back then, nobody saw 2 high safety. And now, if you see 1 high safety, you kind of shocked a little bit if it's not man.
Now, Coach, that's kind of lead me where I want to go is you've done a lot of things to make your program successful, and I think some of that might be attributed to, playing big schools or being on a big stage. But I mean, what do you think is, if you could say, you can't ever say there's one key, there's always a lot, but what would one thing you'd say that has made y'all consistently good?
I think it's been levels. I mean, I think, in 2000, what I think was really good was that I think every so often you got to relook at your program and try to see where you're at, see what can make you better. And I think we've done a really good job of that here. Been blessed with some very good coaches. But, when we started in 2000, it was getting guys catching the football as much as they could. It's seventh grade on catching the football. And the unique thing about being at the same place for so long and then coaching 7 through 12, you get to develop them for 6 years. And so every kid that we had come through here, we got as seventh graders and we saw them grow from seventh grade to 12th grade. And I thought we had a really good run from 2000 to 2007, 2008. And then we kind of got in a little rut and didn't perform very well. So we kind of reevaluated what we were doing here. And that's when, I got with Coach James, who was turning around programs everywhere. I mean, he was at Star City, he turned that around. And he went to Camden, he turned that around. And so, and we started really focusing on the weightlifting part of it. And from that point on, we had another good little run where we went, to 2012. We went to the quarterfinals, got beat by a really good Stuttgart team. 13 got beat in the finals by Boonville. And also at that time, what we did, which I think was huge for us and Warren, and back in about 2011, we started practicing our junior high and senior high together, which we still do today. I think that was the biggest thing that made us, because we didn't concentrate a lot in junior high football. We didn't care how many junior high games we won. And so we would put them in two-a-days with our high school kids. So it's when they can see something, how it's supposed to be, then it's easier for them to do it, especially in drills. So a lot of times when we started practice, we have a first group of, if we were D-line drills, our first group would be high school guys, our second group would be junior high guys, our third group would be high school guys so far. And that really helped us turn us around a little bit. And then, our kids started doing 7-on-7s against each other when it was scale time. Our senior high kids knew how to practice. They learned how to practice. Our junior high kids fed off that. And we had some really good football players come through at the time. And so I think that was a really good turning point. And then, then just moving around offensively, the thing that, we're not sold to one thing. If you look at over the last 6 years, and we played for multiple state championships, but every year we've been different. And this year we started out really bad and we wasn't very good. We were 0-3. We were searching. Honestly, we lost our quarterback first game of the season, and we ended up going 21 personnel. I mean, we finished the season in the semifinals at Rivercrest with a tight end and a fullback, 90% of the time. And we were lining up, we was running, 20 different running formations where in the past, it's always been a way to throw the football. And this year it changed. So I think you got to be able to do that, especially at a small school like we are. You got to be able to adapt to your talent and, what's coming. And I think when we did that this year, we got pretty good in a hurry.
Yeah, Coach, and adapting, and this is the next thing I was going to lead on with you. It seems like your teams, at least in my experience, if you play you guys in August, which I got fortunate to play, and y'all were still pretty good then, that's when we want to get you, because you hear this all the time from guys that talk about Warren. You don't want to catch them in November and December. So what are you guys doing that's making you make those giant leaps throughout the year?
I think we had to learn the hard way. I think that I learned a lesson in 06, 07. In 06, we were really good. I mean, probably one of the best football teams I've coached. And I thought we were playing our best ball in October. And then I didn't learn a lesson that year. And we ended up getting beat in the finals in double overtime by Nashville. And then I turned around and do it again in 07. And we were sitting there and in August, we played some really good non-conference teams that year. And we had Jarris Wright, Chris Greg Childs, and we were really good. And we were playing really well early in the year, and it's like we peaked too early. So now we make it a concentrated effort, especially in June, July, and August, that we're not going to do a lot of football stuff. I know people don't think about. We're going to do a lot of weights, and we're going to throw and catch. We're going to do a lot of drills, but we're not going to do a lot of team stuff until we start. August. We don't go to many team camps. Number one, because of numbers. Number two is we want to play our best football. Our goal is to play it in late October, early November, because by the third week of November in 4A football, you better be playing really good, because you're going to face a really good football team in the quarterfinals. So that's something that we've really concentrated on. And when I bring new coaches in, I try to tell them that. They probably never heard that before of how we do things as far as, we don't want to play our best football game weeks 1, 2, or 3. We want to find out what our deficiencies are, what our weaknesses are, and we want to try to correct them before we go into conference. And that's our biggest key through the first 3 games. And like we played Whitehall last year, we played Texarkana last year, and Stuttgart. We were 0-3 going out, but we knew exactly where we were at. And a lot of teams, you go 3-0, which we did in 06 and 07, you don't know where you're at. You might think you're a little bit better than what you are because nobody's, showed you what you're weak at. And that's something that we really concentrate on right now is going to find teams that we can play that will good coaches who are going to game plan, going to scheme us up. And then we can go back and see how they did that. And hopefully we can get better from a coaching standpoint and from a playing standpoint for us to be a better football team.
Yeah, no, and obviously it's worked for you, Coach. Okay, last one I've actually got 2 questions here. One's a kind of a 2-parter, then I got one more here for you. So you're somewhere, the most I was ever at someplace was I was at Southside for almost 10 years. And so there's good and bad. You've been there now 21 years. So you knew the question was probably coming. What's the best part about that? And then the other side of the coin is sometimes what can be the toughest part of that.
Well, the best part of it is like I said earlier, you get to develop your kids 7 through. Who your starting quarterback is pretty much 3 years down the line, and that's always really good. And then you can't help for injuries like this year, but for the most part, we coach 7 through 12 here. All of our coaches coach everything. So when we get them as 7th graders, we know. And when you've been here as long as I have, and you've built what we've built here, the expectations of Lumberjack football means something. And, the tradition of what we got means a little bit. And that helps. People can say, and that was just a prime example this year when we got to the playoffs. Our kids just felt like, hey, we got a chance. We go in the playoffs at, 6-4, maybe 5-4. And then, you look at the playoff that we had to go through. We go through a really good Lone Oak team. And then we got Arkadelphia, who was, had 1 loss. Then we got to go to Nashville. And then we got Rivercrest. And for people who don't know Arkansas football, them 3 teams right there, Arkadelphia, Nashville, and Rivercrest, have got a lot of tradition. And so our kids, we couldn't have done that without the tradition we had here. And that's something that has helped over the 21 years of helping to build that to where it's at. And then the stability of them knowing what offense, we're able to change offenses because we didn't change our whole scheme. Our plays were still called the same from 7th grade on. We just changed the formations and everything else to benefit this actual football team. The bad part of it is, I'm starting to coach, I'm coaching players' kids. That's something that, I'm coaching some of them's grandkids. That's how long I've been here now. And so it's interesting, as far as that part of it, but it's been fun. It's been really fun to coach a group. And all of a sudden you have, like I got in 01, we have, Brett Smith, Roshan Fellows, Reed McKinney, them guys. Now their kids are coming through, and that's pretty neat, so that's a good thing about being here. And football's changed so much too, and I think you would agree with that. As far as what I did 21 years ago, I can't do today. Mm-hmm. So, but at Warren, Arkansas, them dads and parents expect it to be the same way. So that's a good thing. I've heard it many times, well, Coach, you're not as hard as you were on us. And their kids are looking like, oh man, so, I guess that's also a good thing. But the bad thing is just the expectations of the community of, being at a high level. But I don't think you want to be at a place that don't have high expectations. That wouldn't be as much fun to me. And our expectations are really high year in, year out. And that's a challenge, but it's also, a fun deal where you expect to be there at the end of the year. When November, December gets here, we expect to play.
Yeah, Coach, and I've been here enough and seen it firsthand that you're going to be ready to go. So last one I've got for you, Coach, is just, there's probably a lot of guys on here, I'm hoping, from Arkansas watching because they respect you and they've maybe played against you or watched you, but there's probably also guys on here that have no idea about even Arkansas football or anything about it. If you could give some advice to, those 21, 22, 23-year-old, these guys that are now, they're going to be the next generation of coaches, what are you telling them?
Work, be loyal, work. And that's the thing about it that's changed so much. I was a GA at UCA, and every week, we had to go paint the practice field, not the game field, the practice field. And you get so many young coaches now that come into this business that they don't even know what a grass field is. You tell them to go mark off a field, they have no clue what that even means. And I think that's the technology of when me and you started, when we broke down film, and we did it with paper and pencil, and now they have a computer, and it's so everything makes it so easy for them. And I think that hurts young coaches. I'll be honest with you. I think the young coaches are different than what they were 20 years ago, from a standpoint of, you shouldn't have to tell someone what to do. When you got a plan, but the biggest thing is go to work, and find something to do. There's always stuff to do around the field house. And I just think that right now it's totally different than what it was when I came through. Whereas there was always something to do when I got here. I mean, if it was either painting the field, mowing the field, and now with turf fields and computers, it's changed football. It's changed football completely. And these young guys, they're I'm not going to say pampered, but they got it made pretty good. And so now a lot of them struggle with the fact, of the grind. Do you agree with that or disagree with that?
I agree 100%, Coach. Yeah, it's because we're older, and I'm sure that when now, they'll be saying the same thing about the next one's coming through. But no, I would agree 100%. I think there's something to be said about struggling.
Yeah, no doubt. And if you don't struggle, you're not going to get better.
That's right. That's right. And I've had plenty of years of struggling, so I've got plenty of experience in that. But man, well, Coach, I appreciate your time. I respect you a ton. I know the guys in the state respect you, and I'm hoping maybe guys that are listening to this will get to kind of look you up. If guys want to reach out to you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
You can, anytime you need anything from Warren, you can email me. My email address is bo.hembree, HEMBREE, at Warren, WARRENSD.org. So you just email me and I'll get you whatever you need. From X's and O's, there's no secrets in football. When people have secrets, that they're lying to you.
That's right. I appreciate it, Coach. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.